There's this almost irresistible impulse we share, isn't there? When the internal pressure mounts, when the job or, the city or just the routine feels too heavy, that immediate whisper is, I just need to escape. So we book the flight, we pack the bag, and we secretly hope, I think, that if we put enough distance between here and there, that whatever pain we've been carrying will just sort of get diluted by the change of scenery. We have this core fantasy, right, that real transformation needs something external, a catalyst. Standing on the edge of a fjord, maybe, or seeing a sunset over some ancient ruins. We expect that physical vastness to somehow trigger relief, or joy, or wonder, something real. And yet, for so many of us, the moment we arrive, well, the old familiar tightness is still there, that hollow feeling just persists, and we're left with that deflating question, why isn't this working? Okay, right, let's unpack this, because the way we've been looking, this suggests we might be fundamentally misunderstanding the whole relationship between travel and, well, truth.
And the immediate internal reaction is often self-judgment, isn't it? You look around at the beautiful view and think, oh, I must be broken. This stunning reality didn't fix me. I really want to challenge that assumption right away. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a failure because the ocean didn't, whisper your life's purpose into your ear. What's fascinating here is how the temporary absence of all that external noise, the commute, the daily tasks, all the shoulds, it doesn't actually erase our internal state, it clarifies it. Travel kind of strips away the usual distractions, and it leaves you alone with the person you've maybe actively avoided being fully present with. So the journey doesn't fail to transform, it actually succeeds in revealing.
That distinction, reveal versus erase, that feels critical. I definitely recognize that feeling of avoidance. Like when I travel, there's this impulse sometimes to perform happiness. You're physically present, yes, but the urge to document it all, taking hundreds of photos, posting, living my best life, it becomes this huge distraction. It's like watching your own life through a thick, kind of smudged window.
Exactly. You're physically in, say, Rome, but mentally you're replaying some tension from 3 weeks ago or worrying about a meeting next Tuesday. That performance is really a way of making sure you never quite drop into raw, here and now presence. And this is where, the core principles of this Gestalt approach we're exploring become so essential. This framework really focuses on what is alive for you right now, in the moment of contact. So when the scenery changes, but your emotional tone stays flat, or maybe anxious, you lose your external target.
Ah, right. You can't blame the city anymore.
Or the job, or the partner. You realize, oh, I brought my inner weather with me. And the problem, as you were hinting at, it was the lack of contact with the self.
Okay, but let's push on that a bit, because many people would argue travel is restorative. If the problem is entirely internal, how do we tell the difference between avoiding contact with yourself and just giving yourself legitimate rest? Isn't some escape necessary sometimes?
For perspective, that's a really powerful and frankly necessary challenge. Rest is absolutely vital, no question. But genuine restoration is often achieved by removing the ground, that static, unchanging background of responsibilities and routines. That removal allows the internal figure, what needs attention, to emerge more clearly. But what we often see, and what the research seems to suggest, is that people are often seeking the opposite. They try to replace their current ground with a new, maybe equally distracting one, like a packed itinerary or getting validation on social media. So the therapeutic invitation, based on the material we looked at, is to stop trying so hard. Stop trying to make the trip worth it, or trying to manufacture happiness. Instead, the invitation is to allow yourself to be exactly as you are when that visitor emerges, maybe bored or disappointed, restless. Awareness is the first step toward real change, according to this perspective. Not fixing, not forcing, not faking, just noticing.
So when that feeling of flatness hits, even though I'm on a beautiful beach somewhere, the work isn't to fix the beach or change my schedule, but actually just to sit with the flatness itself.
Precisely, yes. And this moves us directly into the body. Think of these feelings, the flatness, the tension, the restlessness. These aren't just random malfunctions. These are figures emerging from the background. They're like little messengers. They're signals. They hold clues about unmet needs. And this brings us to something called the interruption cycle, which was a major focus in the sources regarding how we satisfy our needs, or don't. So a natural need arises. Let's say you've been working nonstop, and your body signals a deep need for rest, or connection, or maybe creative meaning. Instead of allowing that sensation to move through awareness to contact and finally to completion, we interrupt it.
Okay, what does that interruption look like in a concrete travel scenario, for example?
Oh, it's extremely common. You feel that slump in energy.
Yeah.
That's the sensation fatigue. The natural response would be mobilization towards completion, meaning rest. Lie down, do nothing. But interruption steps in. We override it. We rationalize. I paid way too much for this trip to just rest now.
Right, I need to get up and see that monument, or I have to check the next thing off the list.
Exactly. You turn that internal need for quiet completion into a frantic search for external stimulation.
So the fatigue doesn't just vanish, it just gets diverted somewhere else. It's like trying to stop a river with a really flimsy dam.
That's a perfect analogy, actually.
Yeah.
The unmet need doesn't dissolve, it gets stored. It transforms into rigidity in the system. And where do we see this storage? Well, maybe in that sudden, inexplicable irritability you feel towards your traveling companion, or the tension in your shoulders that won't go away, the clenching of the jaw, or even, those spontaneous, unexpected tears while you're just looking at a painting in a museum somewhere. That is the system practically begging for completion. If we connect this to the bigger picture, work in somatic psychology clearly shows that stillness is where these stored feelings really live, and where they need to be felt to be processed. We keep moving, often, precisely because we've been taught, somewhere along the line, that strong feelings like anger, grief, deep exhaustion are dangerous. So we maintain motion, any kind of motion, to keep them trapped in our muscle fibers, our breath patterns, even our digestive systems.
Wow, that resonates deeply. The body then, it becomes this kind of archive of everything the mind refused to process. My mind can rationalize away the stress, sure, but that tight throat I get when I try to talk about something difficult, or that perpetual shallow breath that signals low-grade anxiety, that's the body holding the truth. So the truly embodied question isn't the intellectual one. Why am I feeling this way? It's much more immediate, more geographical maybe. Where am I feeling this? And the shift is putting your hand on that space, the tight stomach, the rigid back, and breathing into it instead of running away from it.
Yes. That simple act of contact breathing into the tension is the very first step toward restoring the cycle. But travel introduces another really fascinating element of avoidance: projection. We often experience amplified annoyance when we're traveling, don't we? Why are we so instantly, maybe disproportionately, frustrated by, say, the loud tourist taking up too much space? Or the slow waiter who just feels incompetent? We assume it's about their actions. But this Gestalt perspective suggests that what triggers us so strongly is often an unlived or rejected part of ourselves, projected onto the world.
Wait, hang on. If I'm angry at the loud, oblivious tourist, you're suggesting that's not really about their volume, but about something I've suppressed? That seems like, a massive leap for some people.
It's not always the case, of course, but often, yes. Think about it for a moment. The loud tourist might be expressing a kind of boundless, maybe slightly clumsy joy, or they're taking up space unapologetically. Now, if you've spent your life apologizing for your own needs or silencing your own joy, or always trying to be the good, quiet observer, then that tourist is mirroring a freedom you rejected in yourself a long time ago, and the waiter. Maybe they trigger your deep, unaddressed fear of inadequacy, or your own fear of failing to perform perfectly. You're not really seeing them clearly. You're seeing your own internalized conflict reflected back at you, like on a screen. So the invitation here becomes, welcome the difficult parts, the jealous part, the angry part, the scared part, instead of judging them.
That gives a whole new meaning to the idea of being the good traveler. I realize now I've definitely been trying to be that idealized version. Calm, photogenic, grateful. Fighting against the messy, confused, sometimes angry traveler I actually am. The one who's just tired of performing all the time.
Yeah.
And when you stop the performance, that's when you confront the unfinished business, isn't it? The stuff we all pack, whether we mean to or not. The unsaid words to a former colleague, maybe. The boundaries not set with a family member. Ungrieved losses. Distance didn't dissolve them at all. It just turned up the volume. Which, yeah, as painful as it is, maybe that's the crucial gift of the trip.
It is. It's the moment where the healing can actually start. Unfinished business. In this context, it's simply energy that hasn't found its proper expression or resolution yet. It demands completion. And only when you finally stop long enough to feel the true weight of that emotional baggage can you really begin to put it down. Healing, as we understand it from this perspective, it isn't really about fixing anything. It's much more about allowing that feeling, the tears, the rage, the profound confusion, to finally have some space. It's like your internal voice finally saying, okay, I see you. You mattered enough for me to finally listen. That kind of radical acknowledgement creates the real potential to live differently when you return.
So if we try to synthesize this whole transformation, the insight isn't really, I found myself in Bali. It's more like, I finally allowed myself to be in contact with myself while I happened to be in Bali.
Precisely. You didn't need to go far to find yourself. You were just out of contact. Peace isn't a destination you purchase a ticket for or finally arrive at. It's a quality of attention, a specific way of being with what is right here, right now.
It sounds like the final, truly radical act of the journey isn't some grand adventure. It's actually an act of surrender. It looks like putting down the phone, maybe closing the guidebook, turning off the noise, and just being. Feeling the texture of the seat beneath you, maybe allowing the sun to be just a simple sensation on your skin, not a performance metric or a photo op. That transition from consuming experience to simply living it, that feels like the real reclamation.
It is the ultimate act of self-tenderness, really.
Hmm.
And in that quiet shift, which is profound internally but often undetectable to anyone else, your internal system starts to rearrange its priorities. You begin living based on what feels congruent in the moment, not just what you think you should be doing. This raises an important question. What happens when you go home? When you realize you've unlocked an awareness, a level of contact you can't just unfeel?
Yeah, the transformation isn't necessarily dramatic or, Instagrammable. Not usually. It might just look like sitting still and breathing and noticing that your shoulders have finally dropped an inch, realizing you're no longer trying quite so hard to be anywhere else but right here. You'll go home and you'll catch yourself falling back into old patterns, trying to perform. And that internal awareness will gently, or maybe not so gently, pause you. The gift of this kind of deep dive, maybe, is the knowledge that transformation doesn't usually look like fireworks. It looks more like a sustained conscious rhythm, a daily practice almost. The work doesn't end when the vacation is over, it deepens. It integrates into your daily life. The awareness you cultivated on the road becomes this quiet, stubborn certainty that you, exactly as you are, messy, whole, and present, are actually worth being with. So pause for a second, breathe deeply, feel your feet on the ground right now, the profound recognition that you are enough right here, right now. That's your true welcome home.